All right, welcome back to our election night coverage. I am joined in studio by Liberty University government professor Aaron Van Allen and Virginia Tech political science professor Dr. Karen Holt. First of all, thank you both for being here.
Thanks for having us.
So first question off the bat, anything that you guys have your eye on when it comes to trends, maybe voter turnout, that kind of thing that could have a big impact on any races in particular?
Yeah, I think the first race that we were actually discussing a little bit earlier was the early voter turnout for the 5th congressional district race against the Republican race against sitting Representative Bob Good and then State Senator John McGuire. Those numbers for early in-person voting are about 14,000 north of 14,200, and for the 5th congressional race, that's a big number. Yeah. So I'm going to be interested to see how many folks actually turned out today. But you've also seen other in-person voting that's been very high in other races as well.
Now, I was going to just add to that, I think the turnout in general is going to be quite interesting because not all the races are as competitive as they are in the 5th district, but in other parts of the Commonwealth where there's also a U.S. Senate seat on the line, that'll be interesting to see where the turnout is there, especially what parts of Virginia it comes from.
Yeah, and a lot of money being spent in that 5th district race. We'll talk about that in a second. A lot of eyes on these races. What are some big issues that you think are driving people to vote? Obviously not a huge turnout, but what's getting people out there?
Well, I think some of it, at least in the 5th district race to begin with, some of it has to do with whether Mr. Trump's being involved or not involved in terms of endorsements and things like that. So that's one thing a lot of people are looking at. There also is still an undercurrent for both parties as to whether the support is going to be a way of interpreting support for President Trump or for President Biden, and I think those kinds of issues then are wrapped up in the voting as well.
And to get more specific, if you could even take some of the swing states that have been polled specifically for Trump and for Biden, and they've made their way, say for example, into the 5th congressional district race, looking at matters, say for example, like immigration, matters of abortion, those types of issues are very much going to be at the forefront throughout this entire night.
And I would add to that, for most people that this kind of is under the radar, a lot of it does have to do with the economy as well, housing prices, food prices, those sorts of things, which certainly the Democrat in the White House is having some heartburn over right now.
Yeah, and you talked about former President Trump's endorsement. How much do you guys think that will have a play? It's a big deal in our area, I feel like.
It's had, if you look at it nationally, it's actually, and even going back to the 2022 midterm elections, it's actually had a mixed bag of results, whether it's been for Congress or even some of these gubernatorial campaigns, say for example with Mastriano and somewhere like the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, that Trump has had some successes in some areas, but again, like in Pennsylvania, he's also had some pretty big failures. So the 5th district race, I think nationally, is a litmus test of how much does a Trump endorsement actually carry going into the general election in November.
And I would simply add not just the 5th district race, but also the U.S. Senate primary and the Republican side. That is, to what extent is the endorsement of Hung Kao going to carry any weight?
I want to talk a little bit more about the 5th district race. Something we haven't really talked about a lot. Kevin McCarthy played a little bit of a part in this race, and he's on a bit of a revenge tour, potentially. He endorsed Nancy Mace's opponent in South Carolina. She actually won her primary yesterday. Is that a good sign for Representative Bob Good after that?
I think after that it probably is a good sign, but I think the Trump endorsement may overweigh what Kevin McCarthy was doing on his revenge tour, I think as well.
And I think there's a little bit of a difference with Congressman Good in the fact that he's had several members of the House of Representatives, some even within his own party, or even within the House Freedom Caucus that have gone against him. So you have Trump, you have McCarthy, and then you have those individuals like Mike Rogers from Alabama, who's the chair of the Armed Services Committee, Derek Van Orden from Wisconsin. All of them have come out and said that they all supported McGuire because they feel as if they've been stabbed in the back. And Marjorie Taylor Greene, she was here from Georgia with McGuire a few weeks ago.
On the other hand, Steve Bannon was here for Representative Good. So that's a mixed bag in terms of Freedom Caucus members as well as others. Yes.
Okay, one final question. What should our viewers be looking out for as the results start to come in around 7 o'clock tonight?
Well, certainly we've talked mostly about the 5th district race, and I think that's certainly what many of them are going to be looking at in this viewership. I also think seeing what happens in the other open House races around Virginia, but as well as the state or the U.S. Senate race against Tim Kaine. And
the big one that the other one I'm going to be looking at is the 10th congressional district race, where we were jokingly saying earlier, it seems like they could field a football team with how many candidates that they have.
Well, the 7th seat as well.
Exactly,
the 7th seat has
15, as well.
Yes, exactly.
So it's especially the Democratic primaries for the 10th and the 7th.
Okay, important insight from the both of you. We appreciate it. We will have more coming up tonight at 10 when we start to get those results, and we'll see you both then.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thank you.